Hey everyone, welcome back to our day 3 coverage of KubeCon here in Atlanta. It's been an exciting couple of days. We've had a lot of guests, we've talked about a lot of things. But like any good conference, in-person conference, the best conversations take place in the hallways. And I've had a lot of those too, and I'll be talking and writing about that in the days and weeks to come. Let me introduce you though to our next guest. His name is Scott Rosenberg.
Hey.
Scott is with a company called TerraSky, is that right? Excellent. Scott, welcome to Techstrong TV. It's great to have you here, man.
It's great to be here.
Absolutely. So we'll talk about TerraSky, we'll talk about KubeCon, but let's take a moment talking about Scott. Give people a sense of who you are, where you've been, like your journey.
Yeah, so I grew up in Chicago, moved out to Israel, back in 2005, and really started my tech career around 2014, 2015. Started in the mainframe world.
Really?
They still exist today, apparently.
They will 20 years from now,
exactly.
Too, believe me, they're not going anywhere.
It started there, moved into more the VMware, virtualization, private cloud area. And then all of a sudden around 2018, 2019, just this bug of Kubernetes hit me. That's when I joined TerraSky as well.
Okay.
And ever since, I've been just working up in the Kubernetes space. I've been privileged to be a contributor to Kubernetes for 6+ years, working on a bunch of the other ecosystem tooling, Crossplane, Backstage, and like, what I'm known for, which is awesome, is I have never been into a single session at KubeCon that I'm not doing, because as you were saying, the hallway track are the most interesting conversations
Absolutely.
that there can possibly be, and you get to meet all these amazing people here. I can watch the sessions live, or the recorded sessions later on.
Absolutely.
And here I just want to get to meet the people.
Because you only have that window, right?
Exactly.
And then everyone goes back to their
and all
world.
these people I'm writing with on Slack every day, it's like you find
Well,
meet
once
them
you
in
meet them,
person.
right? Oh, that's a big thing too. You know what I find? People I meet on Zoom, they're always taller in real life than on Zoom.
Exactly. They also have a body.
Yeah,
It's
well,
like,
because you never...
never
it's
know.
hard to judge how tall someone is from here.
Exactly.
Right, but anyway, you mentioned Backstage, and of course Backstage Con this year was a big success. Platform Con here was also, you presented a Platform Con here
and
on
a Backstage
Monday.
Con.
Oh, you did both?
I had 4 sessions this year at
Good
KubeCon,
for you.
so
Very
exactly.
Good
but
for you.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you share a little bit about what you presented on?
Yeah, no, so Backstage Con was really about building out a platform with Crossplane, Backstage, and trying to bring together the consumption layer and the operation side from Crossplane and trying to fix that. But like my favorite talk I gave this year was actually at Platform Con, which was with a amazing guy, Shemer Mashiach, from a company called Playtika. And they're a unicorn gaming company in Israel, amazing company. And we've been working with them for probably like 10 years or so.
Really? Okay.
And they're in Kubernetes since 1.5.
Oh, really? Okay.
So back in 2016. And really we talked about the journey that, I've been going on with him together, and how we have moved from a do-it-yourself chaos that happens with early adopters into a real full CNCF platform now, and all the benefits that it's brought them and what the challenges were. And it was an amazing conversation because it was the interweaving of the technology with the cultural elements and how it was able to be done with CNCF projects.
Love it. I love it. Scott, so at some point it sounds like to me, you didn't say it, but you made the transition then to really platform engineering.
Exactly, right? That's basically what we did, right? It's so much of this was a cultural change, right? One of the challenges that we always see is DevOps. One of the reasons that there's that line, DevOps is dead, right? Which is so, okay, it's a cute line.
It's marketing.
Exactly, but why is that kind of true? Because DevOps never reached its full potential. DevOps was supposed to be a culture and became the synonym for Jenkins, GitHub Actions, GitLab CI, whatever it is, right? And Kubernetes. And DevOps was a culture. Those tools fit well into that DevOps culture. what I love about platform engineering is that platform engineering really is an implementation way to make DevOps actually succeed. And the two are actually together. Platform engineering is a mechanism that allows us to actually bring DevOps to fruition. Right? And that's what a platform helps with. And really what we did with them was, this was over a year project of assessments, of interviews, of gathering data, everything data-driven, and really coming and understanding the different pains of each team, and then going and building out this platform together with the teams to get their buy-in to really restructure things around and build that full platform out from the ground up.
Got it.
Right? With the challenges of brownfield and large scale and all of that.
Real life.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. Andrew Clay Schaefer was one of the, not founders, but a big name in the DevOps space. He always used to say, he still says, I guess, the DevOps you get is the DevOps you deserve. And part of that is because you're right. The heart of DevOps was culture. Right. It was how we interact in a team. And for too many people, they used to pay lip service to culture, and they'd what I call bag dive into the tech.
Exactly.
Yeah, culture, Jenkins.
Exactly.
Culture, GitOps. But they never really invested in the culture.
Exactly.
And I think the other thing is, if you look at DevOps that way, it's not meant to replace Agile.
No.
It wasn't supposed to be from the beginning of time to the end of time, right?
Right.
I think it needed platform engineering because it had to sit on something, right? Now now the way I look at the world, you've got the platform, right? So it's like on the first day God created the earth, right?
Right.
You got a platform.
Exactly.
It's one way of looking at it. Probably a little sacrilegious, but all right.
Oh, it's good.
But you got the earth. Now we can build on. Right, we could build on. The second day we created developers and code. Exactly. And we do it in Scrum and Agile, and that's the best way, or monolith, right? But we had this code, or coders, and then we had ops, and it was like Cain and Abel almost, exactly. Right? They're very different. Right. DevOps tries to bring that Cain and Abel, if you will, it's not possible, Cain and Abel together, where it sits on top of the platform. Exactly. And Agile plays in there, and DevOps plays in there, and SRE is in there, and security and observability, and all these things that we build on this beautiful earth, this beautiful platform. Yeah. It's almost like we did it backwards, though, in that we brought the platform in after all these things were running around.
And I think the truth of the matter is, and this is like one of the things I've been saying in like a bunch of the platform engineering different communities, is that, having a platform is not a new thing.
No.
We have had platforms for decades. What we haven't had is a unified platform.
Right.
And that is the difference here.
And
platform engineering is the idea that we need to focus on the platform level instead of just having it as a given, and we have to unify that platform. Because what we had was a bunch of platforms in the past. And we did have platforms, but they were all disparate platforms, and we had chaos. What we want is now just, let's bring those platforms together into one unified one and build all of those tools on top of it, right? Which is, so many people say like, oh yeah, we want to build our first platform. I said, you have platforms. You want to evolve into a unified platform, right? And that's the key, I think.
Well, once we get it built, then we could rest for a day. But anyway, let's go. I want to move to IDP.
Yeah.
Right? Because you were backstage con. Right?
Just on that in IDP, though, I will say the tech world can't figure out acronyms for the life of them. Because what I always say is you connect with your IDP to your IDP to visualize your IDP. You have an identity provider to your internal developer portal to your internal developer platform. Right. Like, which IDP are we talking about?
I meant the internal developer platform, portal, and both.
Exactly.
But this, they used to say, when I first became aware of this whole platform engineering movement, basically, if you got a handle on Kubernetes, you had a platform, right? And the engineer was doing that. I think that we've seen that focus change from, handling your Kubernetes cloud native sort of architecture to IDPs.
Yeah.
In platform portal there. And it's interesting because it's some may say, well, it defocuses us from working, perfecting Kubernetes. We got enough people working here to perfect Kubernetes. It's okay. It's not going to be an orphan. But we are seeing that. But here's another thing. They say 2 people, 3 opinions.
Yeah.
And we're starting now to see differences of opinion, different communities. Yeah. We have platformengineering.org. They have a booth down the hall from me here, a couple rows back. I work very closely with Luca and the community.
Yeah.
We saw PlatformCon here put on by CNCF. They offer certifications. Those people offer certifications. Yep. Is this town big enough?
I think it is. I think that, obviously there's always going to be some challenges, right, and differing opinions. But I think it's very similar to what we saw in the GitOps world happen. When you had Weaveworks that had Flux, right?
Right, Flux.
Then you have Intuit that go and do Argo CD. And then you come out and Flux V2 comes out, right? And you have these 2 tools. You even have the other ones like on the side.
Yeah, no, there are
others. Fleets and the Carvel Cap Controller. And you have some others.
We see it in Service Mesh too.
Right. But what ended up happening? They all come, right? They go in their own directions. They're figuring out what GitOps is. And then what happens? The Flux guys and the Argo guys come together and create the Open GitOps initiative, which comes and says, great, this is what GitOps means. We're different implementations of the same thing, and that's fine.
And choice is good.
Exactly. And I think that this is healthy because having 2 organizations, having 2 groups, trying to figure out and really distill down what platform engineering really is and what its core tenets are is so critical, because once that happens, the 2 can come together. Let everyone go off on their own approach, similar to how people with agents, they run twice an agent when they're doing agentic.
Absolutely.
Let's see what we get and try it out.
But variety is the spice of life.
Exactly.
Right? And I think that's what open source is about too. It's about choice.
It is.
It's about freedom to decide, and if backstage the code doesn't work exactly the way I want it to, I'm free to change that too.
Exactly. It's right. And I like Backstage is one of the best, I think, proofs of like what a real open source community is looking like. Because what we've seen is Spotify, when they built it initially and they contributed to upstream, they work in a very specific way. And then you had companies like VMware that came in, right? And they wanted to do something a bit different. And
absolutely.
Red Hat came in. And you see these companies have differing opinions.
But it didn't stop Spotify from saying, you know what, we want to sell a commercial version of
Which
it.
is
our
awesome.
vision. And it's all good. It's big enough for everyone.
And everyone can push it in their direction.
That brings up another question, though, I want to ask you.
Yeah.
I think one of the questions for the platform engineering community is, do you want commercial IDPs like the Spotify Backstage, which it gives it to you in a nice package. It's all wrapped up nice, it looks good, it smells nice. Here you are, packaged, just add water. Right. Or do you want me to give you sort of that old-time open source, here's all your packages, you pick what you want, put it together, and it's a DIY kind of thing.
Right. So, it's a really great question, and it's it's something that we've been grappling with for a while with a bunch of our customers and the people that I'm talking to. And I think it really just comes down to there's no one size fits all, and it depends on the customer.
Yeah.
You can't be a jack of all trades.
No.
And therefore, in a company that's large enough, right, a big enough unicorn-style company that has the ability to really go and fine-tune that internal developer platform to be exactly how they want and can base it off of open source and can have a large enough DevOps team to maintain something like that, that's a very viable solution that's probably going to give them a better platform long-term. Because there's a reason it's called an internal developer platform, because typically it's built internally. Right? Now, that doesn't mean that on specific components that you don't have the expertise on, you shouldn't buy an enterprise version of it, right? I think that, on the other hand, platform engineering can help so much in the smaller companies as well, right? And there, I think that you have to go with these commercial offerings.
They're prepackaged.
Because
they don't have the resources.
They don't have the resources, and they don't hit the challenges that these platforms can't
and
cover.
Scale and stuff
right?
like that, yeah.
If you have 50,000 nodes in Kubernetes, I promise you that most of the paid solutions out there ain't managing it well.
No.
You're going to need to figure it out yourself.
Agreed.
But if you have 50 nodes in your environment, I promise you any of those IDPs out there are going to be able to help you. So
agreed. Hey, man, I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on
awesome.
here.
This
Scott,
is great.
for people who want to maybe follow you or stay on top, what's the best place
so
to do it?
I've got a blog, vrabbi.cloud. You can check me on weekly podcast together with Victor Farsick on the DevOps
Victor's
Toolkit.
my friend. Tell Victor I said hi.
I will.
I'm a good friend, a good old friend of Victor.
Victor's great.
He is a great guy.
So we do an Ask Us Anything on every Thursday, basically.
Very cool.
And reach me out on Kubernetes Slack, CNCF Slack, Crossplane Slack, LinkedIn.
Any of them.
Exactly, all over. Love the community and great being here with you.
Thank you, Scott. We'll
you.
come back again. Hey, we're live. We got more coming to you as we wrap up our day 3 coverage here of KubeCon, Cloud Native Con. This is Alan Shimel. Stand by. Hey everyone, we're back here live on our, you could say it's day 3 or you could say it's day 4. I've been here 4 days, but this is the 3rd day that the expo floor is open. So take your pick. But we're live here at KubeCon Cloud Native Con in Atlanta. And I'm really happy to have my next guest. We've been kind of waiting for him all week, whether you call it day 3 or day 4. Jonathan Bryce. Jonathan is the executive director of the CNCF, but he has a dual role. He's also the executive director of the Open Infra Foundation, which is also now part of the Linux Foundation, or under the umbrella or whatever auspices of LF. Jonathan, welcome to Techstrong TV.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. So Jonathan, I've wanted to ask you this because I admit I don't know the answer at all. What have you been doing that got you to this position?
Well, it all started in the 90s with the web. I spent a lot of time doing software development for the web, and back then that also meant you had to build your servers and put them in a data center, and then I joined a company called Rackspace. I was one of the early employees there, and we built out more data centers, and then I started a cloud company. Rackspace bought it back in, and that was where we launched OpenStack from.
Sure.
OpenStack started to really catch on, and so we wanted to give it a neutral home, and this was kind of before the Linux Foundation, as it is now, is really a foundation of foundations. And we actually talked with Jim Zemlin a lot in 2010, 2011. He was super helpful, and we created the OpenStack Foundation.
I remember.
Which we as we added other projects to it, we rebranded to the Open Infra Foundation in 2020, yep. and finally, kind of full circle earlier this year, merged it into the Linux Foundation. So, it's been a lot of all infrastructure, some software development, some hardware engineering and network engineering, and a lot of open source.
So let me ask you, in the 90s when you were building out servers for the websites, what was your platform of choice?
Well, one of the things that got me into open source is I was a teenager and I had no money, and I started doing this because I realized I could make more money than mowing lawns by building people websites, but I needed everything to be as cheap as possible. So it was x86 and Linux and the very first versions of PHP and MySQL and. It was amazing.
Similar. I mean, I was older than you, but I started as a hobby building websites, and then we had a store, and same kind of thing. It was I still remember the first x86 server. We bought our own server to store them on in a little ISP in Long Island called LINet. They gave me free. They let me put a server in. It was a 4-way x86 machine. And I thought I was a digital landlord. As we added more sites, I just plugged another hard drive in there, a bigger hard drive. Then the web really started taking off, and we wound up moving to Sun, UltraSparks, and we were running Netscape server over Solaris. We got acquired shortly after that. But that was the web then. That was the internet, and it was fun as all hell.
I know.
Good times. An interesting, your fact pattern with Rackspace is a common one. A lot of people started at Rackspace, went out, did fairly well, and got brought back in, right? Cisco does that a lot too, right? So it's an interesting thing. While we're on the topic though of OpenStack and Open Infra, you still are the ED for Open Infra Foundation. Haven't mentioned it once this week here on Techstrong.
Yeah.
Give us if you wouldn't mind.
Well, we just had our Open Infra Summit in Paris about 2 weeks ago, and it was awesome. Sold out crowd there. OpenStack is still the largest project in the Open Infra Foundation.
Sure. And
right now, there's some real tailwinds for OpenStack, driven by all of these massive infrastructure investments. There are kind of two sub-trends in that. One is digital sovereignty, which was a big theme for the event in Europe. There's a desire to really know where your data is, who has access to it, what laws apply to it. and make sure that you, as you're building systems, they're resilient to changes in the geopolitical environment. So digital sovereignty is leading a lot of folks to, to kind of think about where the servers live and who's running them, and that's led to a lot of investment in Europe that has mostly been built out on OpenStack. AI is another piece of it, and one of our other really popular projects is called Kata Containers. Kata Containers is a secure execution environment. You can plug it into a Kubernetes pod, and it gives you a very lightweight virtualization wrapper that protects against container breakouts and those kinds of things. But it also has some other really interesting features that make it nice for AI, which is that you get to have a kernel in there, and that kernel can have customizations for special workloads. So we have a number of AI companies who are using Kata containers to create GPU as a service businesses, some of them at quite large scale. And so the Open Infra Foundation is often one level down from where we are here at KubeCon. KubeCon, Cloud Native Con, a lot of the tools here expect that you have a cloud, that you have infrastructure with an API on it. In the Open Infra land, we're building infrastructure APIs on top of hardware. So it's kind of one level lower, but still I love data centers and I love that level, so I love being able to kind of span both groups.
Has there ever been a more interesting time to love data centers? Oh God.
I know.
But you do me a favor, how do you spell Kata?
K-A-T-A, yeah, K-A-T-A.
Just wanted to make sure people got that.
Thanks.
It's interesting. There are, you talk about tailwinds that are moving it. Let's talk about, if you don't mind, we'll spend a little time.
Yeah.
Look, the whole VMware Broadcom licensing thing has caused, and I'm not here to debate whether it's worth the money, but it's caused people at least to say, hey, this is a good inflection time. Should we look at something else?
Yeah.
Should we look at going to public cloud? Should we look at a different cloud solution, hypervisor solution in general, right? Should we go hybrid, multi, stay just in the private data center? It's an agent of change, or at least an agent of a time to reflect and make some choices going forward.
We did a survey of our Open Infra Foundation members earlier this year, and over 80% of them had gotten inquiries about migrating from VMware. Over 60% of them had already done a migration.
Really?
Yeah.
Off of VMware?
Off of VMware, yeah, over the course of this year. And so I think what it did is it injected enough uncertainty that, as you said, you're willing to consider a change. And from a business point of view, I don't necessarily think VMware made a bad business decision. Like they're focusing on profitability, and
he's done pretty well for himself, that guy.
But it does change the dynamic of where their customers have been historically and where they would be in the future. So yeah, it made people consider, should I move to something else, and what would that be?
I agree with you, and it may very well be that their decision was they're better off with 50 or 60% of their existing customer base paying 3x the time. Yeah. They make more money, and it's a very focused customer base. Yeah. Be that as it may, it makes opportunities for a lot of people with different things.
Yeah.
The other thing driving it, of course, as you mentioned, AI.
Yeah.
Right? And what does the AI stack of the future look like, and what platform is it running, and what cloud or what have you? I think the jury may still be out, but it's certainly, anytime you can get people to say, hey, wait a second, change is coming and I got to think about what I want to do, it's a good thing, I think, for the Open Infra Foundation and the tools and projects in there.
Yeah, we have several GPU cloud providers that are running OpenStack to power that. Some of them use Kata, as I mentioned. One of them is a top 10 buyer of NVIDIA GPUs. So it's great because if you're talking about a handful of GPUs and a couple of systems, then you may just go with a simpler set of tools to manage that and deploy the workloads and go with a simpler option. But if you're talking about putting tens of thousands or 100,000 GPUs in a data center with all of the associated infrastructure around that, then you really have to have something that's very focused on the compute, storage, networking management. And I think that's where OpenStack has done really well this year.
I agree with you. You know what? Look, over the years, OpenStack's had its ups and its downs. I really thought, I guess when you changed to Open Infra, was that 2022?
It's 2020, yeah.
It was a bit of it was a good shot of adrenaline in the arm, right? That reinvigorated it.
Yeah.
And look, well, I think its better days, maybe its best days, may be still ahead of it.
We just crossed 55 million cores of compute in our user survey that we just wrapped up around the summit. So
that's a lot. It's crazy.
A lot more OpenStack than ever before.
Absolutely, and it's a good thing. Look, choice is good out there. Freedom is good out there. Let's pivot over to KubeCon CNCF. So this is your first KubeCon as ED here. Impressions, thoughts?
I've been coming to KubeCon mostly since the beginning. I've been to most of them, and it's always a really interesting event because this is where the industry comes, and it's a good way to sort of test the waters and see how people are feeling. And we're here in the sponsor hall. We sold out our sponsorships this year, and when you look around, you'll see a lot of backdrops with AI on them, and that's different than even 6 months ago. And I think this is what's on everybody's mind. And to me, there's what I've been trying to have a conversation around is which part of AI is the part that fits here, because AI is so big. It's everything from really, really deep AI science and machine learning,
the neural net part,
up to chatbots and agents and this kind of thing. Which part in that entire spectrum is the right part for our community to work on? And my feeling, I'm obsessed with inference right now because I feel like that is an area of AI that's really getting overlooked. We kind of have skipped from being interested in these deep learning and machine learning and LLM creation techniques all the way over to agents. And agents require models. Models require inference. Agents are going to operate at a much, much higher transaction rate than humans do when we interact with models. So now we have to expand that inference by even more multiples. And this is going to just increase the already extreme demand for AI systems and data centers
that we probably can't meet in the time frame they're talking about.
But this is where the software is really important, because you're right. Like you were talking about power earlier and data centers, and we can't build nuclear power plants more rapidly, and we can't install servers more rapidly past a certain point. But software can change very quickly, and if you look at the core pieces within AI inference stacks, we've seen incredible efficiency improvements this year. 6x in VLLM, 8x with using caching techniques on top of Kubernetes routing primitives, and so you get a few of those advances, and you are 50 to 100 times more efficient just through software, and that means that that nuclear power plant, it's 50x more efficient there as well.
Absolutely, if we get it approved, regulatory, right?
Yes.
But what you hit on here is again, this is a very normal fact pattern, right? First, these things come out, and it's wow, they're great. But now you start thinking, well, how much power does it use? How much water do I need to cool it? What all of these things, and efficiencies become the rule of the day.
Yeah.
And software is always about making it more efficient, right? That's how we've always proceeded all through my time in tech.
Yeah.
Right. Software is where we pick up those efficiencies. I don't. You talk about inference, and you're. I don't think inference has had its day in the sun yet is the problem.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I think we've been so focused on training these models. And yes, training the models is intensive energy, intensive resources. But eventually, like we don't have enough data to train much more of these models, right? We got to have synthetic data and all those things. But now, especially with agentic AI, I think inference is where the action's going to be in the next, I'm ashamed to say, I don't even want to say 3 years, 18 months.
18
if
months
I can do 18 months is plenty.
That's actually where, that's the time frame I think we have to, to capture the opportunity right now.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, is if you look at all of the largest inference systems out there, which most people don't know that these even exist, but we had OpenAI give a keynote yesterday, and they were talking about their Fluent bit usage and how they were hitting performance limits. They fixed, they made some small patches to a few lines of this.
It made a huge difference.
50% reduction.
We spoke about it on Techstrong Gang, I think yesterday.
So this is an example of where the pattern that they have is different because of the amount of data and the amount of transactions. It's a little bit different than what a happy path Kubernetes application was 2 or 3 years ago. And so this is what we need, is we need these systems to be testing the new limits that we're going to find. But if you look at all of the largest inference systems, they're all running on Kubernetes right now. I think the area that's a little weak that we need to focus on over the next 18 months is that most of them are doing it in slightly different ways. So we're not truly benefiting from the full power of an open source community here. And the thing that I love about it is when I talk to a lot of these companies who are doing inference systems right now, they all go, what's everybody else doing? And they say, this is not differentiating. Like, I don't believe that my inference system is differentiating for my business. My data is differentiating.
But
the
isn't
agents
that always the data is what's important?
The data, the agents, like that's going to be differentiating. This is holding me back. How do we get people working on it? So I think this is really the 18-month opportunity, is to get some real patterns and real reference architectures for this.
But I think this fits so perfectly in the open source model, right? Because where we are now is a bit of a Cambrian explosion. We have all kinds of weird animals out here with 6 eyes, 12 legs, but eventually life finds a way, right? And that efficiency kind of sets in. And the best model will the cream rises to the top, and the other stuff stinks to the bottom. I think we're going to have that. I hope it happens in 18 months. Sometimes these things have a way of stretching out because anti-open source, money becomes involved, and a particular company with a lot of money pushes a particular model, which may not be the most efficient or best. We don't use OS2 today, right? And I loved OS2. But in any event, I do think that's where we are with inference, and I think it's going to reignite. You think there's a lot of AI now? Wait, right? When this inference stuff is real and we've got that working right, bar the, what is the term? Katie bar the doors or whatever.
Yeah, Katie bar the door.
They didn't say that much in New York growing up, but you know what I mean. I do think it's there. From the CNCF point of view, right? So you've got all these projects, and they're all being touched by this one way or the other, right? How do you orchestrate? It's a bad word to use. How do you orchestrate all of these AI needs and push and pulls going on here?
Yeah, well, we announced an AI conformance for Kubernetes this week, and I think that's kind of step one, is to give people like a very baseline target to start aiming at. It's definitely not the end. There's a lot more to do. But what it does is it gives people a baseline target to start aiming at. And the other thing that I spoke about this in my keynote. We need to highlight it, because when I do that, I walk through the conference the rest of the week, and everybody's coming up to me and they're saying, okay, well, I'm using Ray on Kubernetes. I'm using Kserve, I'm using Kubeflow, I'm using, but this, I run into this problem, or I did this thing and I was able to do this pre-fill caching, and it like totally changed our Gen AI efficiency. And so, I write them all down and I start to connect them, and this is how it works in open source. And when we get to Amsterdam, I think we'll see progress
within 3-4 months.
Yeah, I think we'll see some progress, and that it can move very rapidly once you can...
I think once there's consensus.
Yeah, once you can get people together, it can move
and I think
really
that's
rapidly.
what you're really saying. Look, hopefully by Amsterdam, we're going to have a consensus here, and then it's full speed ahead.
Yeah.
Right? We get rid of the 12 eyes, 8-leg creatures that make no sense, and go forward. I do think that's it, But you got to remember, to me, open source is like democracy. Right, it's the most least inefficient form of government. But the best that there is. And so sometimes you got to let this play out. Let the community and the market decide what is the best thing. Right, you can't. We can't dictate. And
the
let
thing
it happen.
The thing that I see as a change in AI right now is I say that ChatGPT was a proof of concept. That it was not actually the end goal for AI. ChatGPT was a proof of concept, but we put a human voice on top of AI, and it made us all go nuts. It's sexy. Because it had that order magical that even look, you and I, we've been in this game. But you show it to like my wife's family.
I think it's magic.
I know, the computer is
all
has
of a sudden it became real, right? It became real.
And so I think it's actually distracted from some of the fundamental progress in other areas. And we're starting to see a resurgence of small models, of specialized intelligence. And those are the things that are going to drive, inference on the edge, inference inside of enterprises, all kinds. Do
you think we'll see those as open source projects? Or do you think the amount of money is just so, you can't even, it's like talking about light years in space, right? You can't wrap your head around. Does that take away from the open source?
So Akamai just announced an inference edge platform, I think maybe last week, and it's built on Kubernetes. And
is it?
It's in our AI conformance program.
Beautiful.
So, I think that we will see services, for sure, that are monetizing the open source,
as they should.
But I think we'll see a lot of this in open source.
I love it. Thank you for coming on here. We're over time. I apologize. Hey, that might have been our highlight for KubeCon this year in Atlanta. I hope you've enjoyed it. I think we've got one more before lunch we're going to do with our friends from Ford Motor Company. So stay tuned for that. We'll be back in a minute. Were we not supposed to use? Hey everyone, we're back here live at KubeCon, Cloud Native Con, wrapping up our day 3 coverage. I want to introduce you to our next guest, and if I mispronounce his name, I apologize. Gaurav Saxena?
Yes.
Gaurav's a real-life platform engineer for a major automotive company. He gave 2 talks here at KubeCon this year. One was on behalf of the OpenSSF, and one was on behalf of the PE.
Open telemetry.
Oh, excuse me, the OTEL
Yes.
conference. Now, Monday of this week was Satellite Conference Day, so we had we had the OTEL conference, we had the OpenSSF conference. They had others. We had the PE conference. We had a backstage con.
Argo con.
There were Argo CD con and the rest. So, it's the day for all of them. But Gaurav, let's hear about your two presentations.
Sure.
But before we do,
Yes.
I don't want to, we're not mentioning companies or anything like this, but give people an idea. How long have you been a platform engineer? What's your journey been like?
Yeah, so I've been a platform engineer for about 10 years now. And I today work for a major automotive company. So my work is basically, I lead a platform engineering team to build an internal developer platform. So think like many verticals: observability, Kubernetes, CI/CD, database as a service, messaging as a service. So that's the work we do today for our internal teams to improve their developer productivity and efficiency.
Very good.
And my talks that you mentioned about one was for the open telemetry. So basically the use cases are, how do we do the over-the-air deployments to the vehicles? How do we monitor them through our open telemetry stack? That was my talk based on the generalized OTel concepts. The second talk was around the open security. So how do we do the secure software supply chain? Like how do we make sure that software that we're deploying to the vehicles are secured by nature? So that was a talk around the open security part.
Excellent.
Yes.
That's one of the interesting things about platform engineering. Talking about observability, talking about security, but it all kind of fits in, right, to this idea of a platform, an underlying platform that we build upon, whether it's DevOps or cloud native or, we're building on that platform. It touches all of those things.
Correct.
What was some feedback from the audience, from peers and other platform engineers there? What did they think?
Yeah, so I got a huge interest on the way we do open telemetry today. The reason being is that in my current role, we are using OTel stack for all the 3 signals: logs, metrics, traces. And how do we use this in a vendor agnostic way? Right? It's an open source standard. How do you scale millions of vehicles that are supported on the platform? How do you monitor them? How do you monitor the progress of the software delivery? How do you enhance the cloud software development through open telemetry stack? Not only in terms of the observing, but also from the deployment perspective. So I got a huge interest in terms of people coming in and asking how do we use the open source software? How are you able to manage the fleet of collectors? How are you able to upgrade them? How are you able to get the maximum performance out of those collectors? Right, so that's the area of interest among the audience that I got. Basically, they were asking about what's the blueprint, right? So not essentially sausage making, but the blueprint, how the high level concepts work, right? The other theme around the open security con was basically the way we do our software deployments in terms of CI/CD pipelines. How do you make sure that those images that we are deploying are free of critical vulnerabilities? How we are making sure that those images that we are actually taking from third-party dependency softwares, they are trusted. So what's the process? How we are doing the trust in the zero security network architecture, so that there is not only the software that we are running, but its dependencies also we make sure that they are in compliance with our security compliance point of view, right? So those are the 2 main themes. Yes.
I appreciate that, and the nice thing is probably both of those were recorded, right?
Yes.
So they'll be available to download
Correct.
on the
CNCF
website,
Correct.
CNCF website.
Yes.
Let me ask another issue, or another question. For folks out there who are saying, You know, this platform engineering sounds interesting. I'd like to be a platform engineer.
Yes.
Or, you know, I considered that. Give people a sense of your day-to-day as a platform engineer. What do you work on? What are some of the problems you're solving?
Yes.
Like what is it like to be a platform engineer?
I came into platform engineering field right when Kubernetes was getting shaped up in 2015 era. So it's been 10 years. And before then I was a software engineer. So coming from the engineering background, when I was an application developer, my knowledge, my skill sets were only confined to that particular business domain level knowledge. When I transitioned to platform engineer, my breadth of knowledge skill sets, not only in terms of the infrastructure, but how do we operate the services as a service operator, I was able to find out the business value because I today host many different applications that powers different critical user experience workflows. So as an operations engineer, I am able to make sense of why these services exist in the platform, how can we make it more performance in our infrastructure development, and how can we power those developers to do their job efficiently. So it gives me a pleasure being a platform engineer, not only knowing the breadth of all the operations for those services that we operate on, but also powering them, enabling them through the infrastructure in the cloud native way. So yes, I enjoy my role at the platform engineer.
Do you?
Yes, very much.
Before platform engineering was a thing, what did you call yourself?
I was a generalist software engineer. So I was working on things like video encoding. So before my platform engineer, I had a background on writing the software that actually was in your mobile headsets, for example. I'm talking about pre-Android, pre-iOS era, pre-Apple era, where you used to have like a Nokia handheld sets, BlackBerry handheld sets, and you had very low power devices in terms of the capabilities back then because of the compute. How you're able to render your media playback on your handheld sets. I was working on those media encryption and audio compression algorithms back then. And my contributions then actually got open sourced to the Android.
Really?
To the Android.
Oh, that's great.
So the first Android version 2008 that came out was running the software that I worked on.
That you worked on.
Yes. So
good for you, man.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
All right. Hey, we got to wrap up.
Yes.
Gaurav, thank you for
pleasure.
coming on. Thank you for what you do for the community.
Thank you.
Hey, that's going to wrap up KubeCon Day 3 here, man. I hope you've enjoyed it. Atlanta, we'll miss you. We'll be back tomorrow with our regular Techstrong TV. But for now, this is Alan Shimel. We're out.
Thank you.
All right.